Hello, all you amazing people. My name is Jeff. This is Running with Tech, where we focus on getting done because mastery doesn't come from a book. This is Last Week in Tanium, where we review Tanium's release notes for last week. Starting off with Connect, the team prepared for future functionality, so they've slid in a few updates here and there on us. Nothing really of note for us to talk about this week. The core content team has added more metadata to the sensors. This will allow the LLMs to pick the right sensors a bit more accurately as Tanium Ask is rolled out and improved. Looking over at the Gateway team, they have removed some internal fields from the documentation. Queries already using these fields will still work without issue according to the release notes. The team has also added 15 additional query fields looking at CVEs. This will give us some more information on that CVE data coming back from Gateway. Look for a lot of great things to come from that. For criticality, reputation, and directory query, all of these modules have performed internal library updates. Looking at impact, the next major version will be dropping support for Windows 7. There were also 3 sensors deprecated in the module: the Impact Dash Computer Name SID, Physical Net BIOS Computer Name, and the Active Session SIDs. Only the active user session SIDs have a named replacement. That new sensor is going to be named LSA Session Details. We should see a point of time where both sensors exist in the platform. Impact also had third-party libraries that were updated, and they also resolved an error in the console when the workbench would not load due to the number of assets that were being shown. Looking over to threat response, they did provide some important notes. Workflows that consist of manually editing live response and quarantine packages, then deploying them to endpoints, have been deprecated. These workflows have been replaced by response actions. The benefit that I can see is how it handles offline systems. When a device is assigned a response action and it checks back in, the response action will still apply to the system. The IOC API has been deprecated. The sensor recorder extension settings has been wrapping its return values in what looks to be Python byte strings. The team is working on a solution for this. Third-party libs were also updated for threat response. Looking at the platform, the team has added question performance testing. And then for the console, we have been granted on the bandwidth throttle pages a monitor usage tab. We will finally be able to see how much of our bandwidth that we are actually using. I guess Tanium finally got enough requests for this information at the support center that it was worth their time to service it up to us. On the client status page, if you've ever hit the export button, you know that everything comes down. Now, the team has added support for the filtering. So whatever we see on that client status page is the only thing that will come down. If you've seen the checkbox, hide duplicate host names, that tooltip has also been updated. So those that are having some confusion on what that checkbox actually does should have a better understanding now. There's also been an issue resolved where selecting an endpoint count on the ring deployment would not return all expected results. Looking at patch, no new release notes for this week, but the service API version that was listed on the December 3rd release note has moved from 3.30.121 to 1.22. Yes, they must have had a little update, not enough for a new release, so they just went ahead and updated the previous release note. Looking at deploy, More information for that December 3rd note has been given to us. So outside of the TBA that was there, support bundles will now gather the AEM service logs. Windows 11 25H2 supported operating systems is now available. App.ringcentral.com and downloadparallels.com have been added to the out-of-the-box egress rules. Users are now able to replace what was once considered an immutable package if we think the Tanium managed packages. If the download fails to happen, the user can do the manual upload on those files. A bug was also resolved where the review configuration button had to be clicked multiple times to populate the form. That should no longer be the case. If you've been in deploy lately, you have seen the warning endpoints must have toolset XYZ. The developers thought that this is popping up too often, found that there was a bug with it, and that has now been fixed. Looking at the benchmark release notes from December 3rd, a known issue has been added to that release note. Customers that are updating from previous versions of Benchmark will want to cycle their TR8 data collection to recreate the criticality rules. Jumping over to my new favorite module, JumpGate. Some updates have been made to enforce consistent min-max values for key settings across the module. Whenever we are creating a new request and there is only one access type available, that type will automatically be selected for us. Slack notifications will now only be using plain text formatting. And whenever older windows are the target for our jump, a warning will be displayed before initiating that jump. Expiration and failed attempts notices will now be displayed to the UI. The JumpGate store has been localized for international customers. And a few issues, such as the jump button remaining enabled after the user loses permissions, has also been corrected. Broken links to the JumpGate data sheet have also been fixed throughout the UI. And they've also corrected a bug where the UI would not disable actions whenever the jump request has expired. A pop-up has also been added to alert the users of this condition. There was also a bug fix with an inconsistency between the UI and API validation, which has been fixed. Looking over at reporting, you're now able to include links to specific interact questions directly within the text and action panels. Playbooks can also be the action from our action panels. Additional endpoint details are also coming in from Intune. The jailbroken status for iOS and security patch status for Android. A bug was resolved that was causing users to be redirected to the deploy overview page when attempting to install software from the single endpoint view. Users were seeing an issue with dashboards exported to HTML and they would fail to load inside Firefox. This has also been fixed. The team has also released optimizations for panels that have hundreds of data points. We should see far fewer timeouts now. But that does it all for this week in Tanium. Those are all the release notes that I have to cover for today. In the description, you can find a PDF where I've consolidated all the release notes directly from Tanium, word for word. If this video has brought you value, please consider giving some back by like, comment, share, subscribe on the platform that you found us on. Don't forget to head over to our website and sign up for email notifications, and we'll let you know whenever we're releasing new content. If you have any questions or ideas for us to cover, send them our way. Your input helps us shape the next thing that we release. Check out our other content and get some done today.